Welcome to the Hormone Hub, your go-to source for the conversations every woman in her 40s and 50s needs to have. I'm your host, Kylie Pinwill, your nutritionist helping you navigate your way through perimenopause, menopause and beyond so you can say goodbye to the endless fatigue, unexplained weight gain, hot flushes, PMS, mood changes and more that come on this hormonal roller coaster. If you missed the memo or think this is only for women of a certain age, ladies, it's time to think again. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss any of my latest episodes, which are released every week. Share it with your friends, your sweaty sisters. The more we talk, the more we help each other. Are you trying to do all the right things and not getting any results when it comes to your weight loss efforts? Okay. Maybe you're feeling ripped off because you've been good all week, you've had the salads, you've, not had the wine, and then nothing's really changed. So come Friday, you face plant straight into a cheese platter and a bottle of wine. And, that's if you made it to Friday, maybe Wednesday or Thursday. So what if it's not diet and exercise that makes the biggest difference when it comes to losing weight? Okay, then what? Certainly what may have worked in our 20s and 30s is not working so well right now. So in this episode, we want to have a look at why stress can be sabotaging your weight loss and other ways it can also affect your health. Now, we can't always change the amount of stress in our life, or the amount of stress that we have going on, but we can certainly learn to change the way we think about it. All right, welcome back to today's episode, everyone. I'm very excited to have you here. And again, we're talking about one of the biggest frustrations that I hear from women is we're doing all the right things and nothing is working. All right, so in today's busy world, stress is hard to avoid. So when we're doing the juggle of, having a job and a career, when we're managing kids, and how is it that our teenage and adult kids seem to need us even more? We're juggling partners. We've got parents who are getting older who have, new and different needs of their own. We're trying to throw in some work. We're trying to squeeze in a social life. That's if you have the energy for it. Not to mention, let's layer a pandemic and a few floods over the top. Okay, so who would agree? So our natural fight or flight stress response can sometimes go a little overboard. Okay, so, from a sort of dare I say it, paleo. No, I was going to say, what's the word? No words. Guess who's in perimenopause? From a biochemistry point of view or a physiological point of view, that's the word I was after, this fight or flight response is designed to keep us safe. All right. So it's supposed to help us escape injury or death, if there's an emergency, and then return us to normal after we've either fought or flu. Okay. So unfortunately, today's current state of busyness, in the hectic world and the hectic lives that we live, this doesn't always happen. And stress becomes then a long-term or a chronic reaction. So you have no doubt heard of the main stress hormone cortisol. Okay, so it comes from our adrenal glands. So our adrenal glands are these two tiny little walnut-shaped glands that sit just above our kidneys. Okay, so they sort of, release cortisol in response to stress. And, if our stress responses are healthy, they're working well, cortisol levels are naturally high in the morning. This is so we can get up and get going, and it slowly fades through the day so we can sleep well at night. And often what happens is our stress responses are on constant alert. So our cortisol levels remain high throughout the day. And, for a lot of women, we get this kind of tired, we're exhausted, but tired but wired sort of feeling. Or, so we keep pushing and, it can get to the point where our adrenal glands just become so depleted, they've got nothing left to give. So they basically essentially flatline. And then we're in this constant state of exhaustion, which, is referred to as adrenal fatigue. So, that's kind of in case. So today we're going to talk about what happens to our body when we're in this constant state of stress. We're going to talk about how that impacts our energy levels and also how it blocks our weight loss efforts, and also what we can do about it. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, the problem, or our stress response is designed to keep us safe. So our body releases adrenaline, which is like our alarm. So just think, if we're walking down the street, a car backfires, we get a fright and we might jump. Or, if we're driving and the car in front of us slams on its brake, there's no kind of like conscious instruction for us to go, oh, gee, I better put on the brake. We have that automatic, reflex to, also throw in our brakes. So that's where adrenaline kicks in to just sort of like keep us safe, to like throw that response out. But the problem is, this alarm phase or this adrenaline phase can be relentless. We're constantly feeling jumpy, we've got a problem. So adrenaline's also released when we consume caffeine. So hands up, ladies. Are you starting the day with a coffee before you've had any breakfast? And okay, keep that hand up. Now I want you to put your other hand up if you actually don't even eat breakfast and you aren't eating anything until mid-morning or even lunchtime. Okay, so you are surviving on adrenaline until you have breakfast. And you're going to hear me come back to this a million times. For the love of all things breakfast, eat the breakfast. Okay, so this constant output of adrenaline can be really challenging for some women to manage, especially when we're topping it up with coffee, with this sense of busyness that we have. It's like a badge that we give ourselves. And it's actually our perception of pressure and our perception of urgency. Like when we take a step back, is it essential? Does it have to happen now? Is that urgency as big as we think it is, or is that the way that we perceive it? So just, something, food for thought there. So when we're living with all this adrenaline, the actual problem is adrenaline was designed to be short-lived, okay? It was meant to shock us into action and should be over really quickly. So if you think about stress historically, the bear starts chasing us. It's a physical threat to our life, so we want to be able to run. And, ideally, we ran and, the adrenaline kicked in, we ran, we got out of the way, and hopefully we didn't get eaten. Okay, and it was all over quite quickly. Whereas today, this adrenaline surge can kind of happen like day after day, week after week, month after month, where we have this consistently elevated output of adrenaline. Now, our body just can't sustain it because, when we release adrenaline, we also, with that comes a whole lot of inflammation. So when our body goes into that sort of inflammatory process, it just can't, sustain it. So this is where stage 2 of our stress response starts to kick in. So this is where we start to create cortisol in excessive amounts, because cortisol in the short term can be anti-inflammatory. Okay, so our body's busy making cortisol to try and calm down the effects of all that inflammation, that the constant relentless output of adrenaline's created. So inflammation then triggers a whole host of its own symptoms, including blocking any weight loss efforts, including speeding up the aging process, including breaking down lean muscle tissue. It messes with our digestive systems, heart issues, it goes on. So if the stress is ongoing and we don't deal with it or make some changes to calm things down, you're now living with the consequences of that. Okay, so when we've got this cortisol floating around our body, again, it's designed to keep us safe. So what it does, in case we landed after the bear chased us in a cave, cortisol goes, hey, there's no food here. So that, that lunch she had, that big kind of beautiful bowl of pasta with the garlic bread on the side, yeah, we're just going to put that around her waist. Just in case there's no food, there's a famine coming up. All right. So if this is what's going on inside your body, no amount of kale and salad and green juices is going to help you lose weight at this point. Okay. So what tends to happen is we can stay in this elevated cortisol state for a while. Okay. you get used to it. You push through, you soldier on, you do all the things for everyone else. And it blows my mind the extraordinary loads that so many women do carry. But our poor little adrenal glands cannot sustain that level of output forever. So something at some point will break and you will crash. Okay, so what this means is you're just not able to sustain that level of cortisol, that level of anti-inflammatory that you need for your body to keep going. So while we're living on adrenaline, while we're in that high stress state, while we're making the same lifestyle choices, while we're thinking the same thoughts, eating the same meals, even though they might be healthy, and even though we're, pumping ourselves, pushing ourselves at the gym, we're doing all the things, we're pushing through, we're thinking we're doing all the right things, we're not actually doing ourselves any favors, okay? And eventually your adrenals are going to crash, okay? So these poor little things, remember, they're only the size of walnuts and we give them a flogging, okay? So like I said, this is where we hit burnout, and that's a whole other episode for a whole other day. All righty, so how do you know if you have too much cortisol? So I want you to, again, hands up. I hope you brought them down from before. Okay, who has noticed an increase in belly fat? So that beautiful muffin top, you might have always held your weight other places around your body, but now it's gone around your middle. I know, I can 100% know when I've kind of pushed my limits too far. I've always been a bum and a thigh girl. That's where I carry my weight. But I hit 40, 42, 43, and I was like, hello, a sec, hang on, what's going on? Where's my waist gone? So yeah, it happens to me too. So that belly weight, it's usually the first thing that women notice. Poor sleep. So, you might be wired, but you've got that tired. So you're feeling, like your body and your brain's going a million miles an hour, but you just can't, and you're exhausted, but you just can't get good quality sleep. Feeling exhausted all the time. Brain fog, where you're just fuzzy, you just can't quite focus, you can't quite get, motivated. Another one is, high blood pressure, fluctuating blood sugar levels. So, high blood sugar, insulin resistance, and even, lowered immunity. So if you're noticing that you're starting to pick up coughs, colds, a little eye infection, little ear infection, little niggle somewhere. Okay, so if you're nodding along to any of these, then my friend, stay with me because I'm going to share all the secrets on what you can do to change this. This Hormone Hub episode is sponsored by The Well-Balanced Woman. If you've been on a hormonal roller coaster, feeling bloated, your digestion isn't the best, and you're sick and tired of feeling lethargic with your weight creeping up, then this is the right program for you. I'm right there with you across the 12 weeks to hold your hand, and I'll give you a loving kick up the bum if you need it. The Well-Balanced Woman is your personalised 4-phase program created to help you regain your energy, balance your hormones and fire up your metabolism so you get the results you're after. The link with all the details is on our show notes or over at kyliepinwall.com/wellbalancedwoman. Of course, we all want to know what's going on and what we can eat to change this. This is like, what do I eat? Kylie, just tell me what to eat. What supplements should I take? And so on. So these are the questions I'm going to answer. Okay, so let's start with the foods that, can increase your cortisol. And drum roll, boom, sugar. So often we're looking for sugar as a pick-me-up. So we want this reward because, like our brain, says we've had a busy day, we deserve this. I've had a stressful week. I deserve this. My period's due. I have to have the chocolate because my period's due in like 3 weeks' time. Now, the problem with going for sugar is it also spikes our insulin. So this is another fat storage hormone. So we get the double whammy of cortisol signaling our body to store fat and insulin signaling our body to store fat. And yep, you guessed it, right around the middle. Now, some of the worst offenders here are, soft drinks and fruit juices, because you can get a lot of sugar into your body in a really short space of time. Okay. Now, don't let the artificial sweeteners include fool you, because this includes the soft drinks as well. Then we've got sugar in the form of lollies, candy, sweets, and of course, cakes, biscuits, pastries, and the like. So reducing the sugar that we eat and drink can be a huge step towards, better health for our minds and our bodies. And, I want you to think about how you can make a better swap. So go for a piece of fruit. One of my favorites is a couple of fresh dates. I just cut them open. I put on some nut butter. Oh my God, yum. Don't love it till you try it. Now, with this, and actually I'll get to all my chocoholics in a second, but, don't feel that you can never, ever have these things again. So this is where a lot of women fall into I can't have. If you really want something, give yourself permission to eat it, but, make it the best damn thing, whatever it is that does it for you, and enjoy every single mouthful and then let it go. So, I often talk to my clients about croissants. Maybe I've got a bit of a croissant thing happening, but, we have a incredible bakery. It's about 20-minute drive from here. So if I'm going to have a croissant, I will only get a croissant from this particular bakery. I will sit down with my croissant. I will sit down with a nice cup of coffee, and I savor and enjoy every single mouthful. Delicious. And then let it go. I don't feel guilty. I don't feel bad that I've had that. I've enjoyed it. I've been mindful while I've been eating it. Then let it go. It's when we're doing that mindless eating and the next thing, like the whole chocolate block is gone, or the whole, bag of chips is gone. This is where we want to bring in that mindful eating. Give yourself permission, let it go. No one's feeling guilty about food. Okay, so next up, we talked about, caffeine also increasing your cortisol levels. So especially when we're having it on an empty stomach. So if coffee makes you feel anxious and jittery, then think about it maybe not being the best thing for you. All right. So again, you don't have to cut out your coffee. I wouldn't ask you to do anything I wouldn't do. I love my coffee, but check in with how much you're having. If you're feeling anxious and jittery, and you're having 2 or 3 coffees a day, try cutting it back to 1 or 2. Have a smaller coffee, so no more double shots. So, and also think about the time of day that you're having coffee. So from a cortisol point of view, the best time for us to drink coffee is around 10 a.m. Okay. And this is only after we've already had a good breakfast. So, if you're feeling super game, swap your coffee out for green tea, herbal tea, something like that. Okay. So yeah, again, you can keep your coffee, but just be aware of what it does and what effects it has on your body. Okay, so being dehydrated also increases cortisol. So we want to make sure that you're drinking enough water, especially if you are feeling thirsty. Okay, so herbal teas count as hydration. Sorry, coffee, alcohol, not so much. Eat protein and fats at each meal. This will help anchor your blood sugar, which in turn helps you manage your cortisol levels. So, eat a variety of nutrient-dense whole foods. So this doesn't help just reduce your stress hormones. It also helps all aspects of your health. Okay, so you can also lower your cortisol levels with green tea and dark chocolate. Okay, you're welcome. Just not the sugary, milky, Cadbury kind of chocolate we're looking for. We're looking for good quality dark chocolate. Okay. And think about, if we go back to our grandma's days, one of my grandma's remedies for all life crises was sit down and let's have a nice cup of tea. Okay. So when you sit down, and again, same as the croissant, just sit down and enjoy your nice cup of tea just for 10 minutes. So give yourself a break, peace out from the world for 10 minutes while you drink your tea. Because so often, we're doing all of the things, we're juggling everything at once. We're not taking that time just to wind down and chill out. Okay, so, just on food, what else can we do? Probiotics and prebiotics. There's so much research out there about that gut-mind connection. So we really need to look after our good gut bugs. So probiotic rich, foods are fermented foods like sauerkraut, kimchi, miso, and they get the good bugs in. And then we also want to make sure we're getting a healthy dose of what we call prebiotic fibers to feed all of these good, healthy gut bugs. So again, in our veggies, things like rolled oats, leeks, sweet potatoes are full of those beautiful prebiotic fibers. Okay. So it's not just about the food. There's also a lot of really simple lifestyle changes you can take to lower your cortisol levels. So first up, reduce your stress with mindfulness. So again, being aware of your stress triggers and changing the way you respond to them can reduce those sort of stressful thoughts and, all that unnecessary worry. So if you're an overthinker, if you're sort of an anxious, and sort of tend to think of all the things. I love this quote by Mark Twain. I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened. Okay. So for all of my beautiful anxious overthinkers, this is going to be a work in progress, and that's okay. Be kind to yourself. All right. So the next thing is get enough exercise without overdoing it. So while intense exercise, increases your cortisol levels temporarily, it can also reduce your overall cortisol levels. So exercise should energize us, not deplete us. So my number one tip here is move your body in a way that feels good. So it really doesn't matter if it's walking, Pilates, yoga, weights, just move. All right. So next one, to help reduce your cortisol and help your waistline is to get enough sleep. Okay. So ideally, we want to be in bed, no-nos, before 10 p.m. Okay. So for all my night owls out there, you want to train yourself to get to bed before that second wind kicks in. Okay. So if you're sort of feeling tired, and then whoop, we've got that second wind kick in, that's a big spike of cortisol. Your cortisol wants to go to bed. It wants to be down. It wants to stay down, but, it's spiked back up. So you're awake for hours. Okay. So we want to make sure that, we're getting to bed before that happens. So feeling that tired but wired feeling is not a fun place to be. Okay, so another sort of tip, is just relax, phone that beautiful friend who makes you laugh, gives you that big belly laugh, snort laugh. We want a snort laugh. Okay, get out in nature, put your bare feet on the grass or in the sand, swim in the ocean, wherever you live, sit under a tree, put your face and your chest in the sun, just not until the point where you get sunburnt, but just let that vitamin D in, okay? Now, one of my favorite ones is put on your favorite, 80s, 90s dance music and let's party like it's 1999. It's amazing how good a boogie can reduce your cortisol levels and get your feel-good endorphins pumping, okay? And it's a good way to remove all your teenagers from the room at the same time. They're out. Shit, mum's dancing again. We're out. So, yeah, it works every time in my house. All right. So take 3 big, slow, deep breaths. So these are all so simple and you can feel your body instantly relax. Okay. So we're going to do it together now, except if you're driving. All right. So breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. Do you just feel yourself relax? Okay, do that 3 times. Instant relax. Okay, now the other thing, that can really help reduce those cortisol levels is get social. Okay, so after the last 2 years, we've grown used to living and working at home. We're in the comfort of our own little cocoon and, there's quite a significant amount of studies emerging now, like worldwide studies, about the health risks associated with social isolation and loneliness. And look, if you've been in long-term lockdown, I'm sure you don't need a study to tell you that. So, make the effort to make those connections. When we're maintaining good relationships, spending time with people you like and people who support you, this is really key. Go and hang out with people who lift you up and make you feel good. I promise that you're going to make them feel better too. So it really is, who are the 5 people that you hang out with all the time? That's a reflection of who we are. So make sure they're good people, make you laugh, lift you up. All right, so by now you should have a better understanding of why stress can be sabotaging our best weight loss efforts, not to mention our energy levels, sleep, and blood sugar. So this is why it's so important. It's not just a diet and exercise approach. So yeah, we need to look at the quality of food we're eating, but we also need to factor in downtime to, relax, to laugh, to dance, to have fun, for a more holistic approach. And this could be the very key piece that you're missing. If you are doing everything, you're stuck on your weight loss, think about your stress. So ladies, until the next episode, it is time to literally slow down and smell the roses. Thank you for taking the time to listen today. You can head on over to the show notes at kyliepinwell.com/podcast, where you'll find all the links, and I have a little bonus surprise waiting for you. Before we go, it would mean the world to me if you head on over to your favourite podcasts channel, subscribe and leave a review. Make sure to screenshot it, DM it to me so I can thank you personally. Then stay tuned for next week's episode. Can't wait to see you then.